Hello Slapafish community and welcome back to another World Tanks console video. So in this video, I'm going to be listing off the top 10 best tech tree tanks in the game. And this is also going by the win ratio. So yeah, also if you end up liking this video, consider subscribing because it's free and it helps out the channel a ton. So let's just go ahead and get started with the UDED 16, that's tier 9 Swedish medium tank. The UDED 16 has been in 1,140,885 battles with a win ratio of 50.51%. Now this tank actually has great armor. Its armor is not thick, but it's very angled, especially when you're using your 12 degrees gun depression. You're going to be bouncing a lot of things. Very few things are going to overmatch your turret, like the Stern Tiger P, I believe, has 8P, and the bar will definitely overmatch you. If you get shot in the hull, your thickest armor is 50 millimeters, so anything that has a 151 millimeter caliber gun or higher will overmatch your hull. As long as you stay hull down against those tanks, you will be perfectly fine. And also this tank has decent concealment, honestly, and it also has 390 meters of view range. It's quite fast, quite mobile, 54-20 reverse with a power weight ratio of 21.07. Overall, it's a quite nice medium tank, especially when it leads into the UDED's 15-16. And it also does have auto cease mode. Next, we move on to the number 9 spot, the 50 TP, the Polish heavy tank. Now, the Polish heavy tank has been in 1,676,089 battles with a 50.57% win ratio. So this tank is known for its armor and its big gun that it gets. So this tank actually surprised me because this... Now, I didn't really play the 50 TP when... I didn't really play the 50 TP with the upgraded gun because I would grind it through this tank when we had the packages and you didn't have to play the big gun, you could just research to the tank. So I just did that. But because I really wanted the 60 TP. But I recently played this tank trying to get a replay up for this. And this tank is really, really good. Like that gun doing 560 damage per shot just feels really, really nice with its quite good armor and gun depression. 8 degrees of gun depression. It is slow and it has pretty terrible DPM, but doing 560 damage per shot at tier 9 with amazing armor, with amazing gun depression, makes this tank really, really amazing. Now we move on to the tier 8 spot, which is another Polish tank, which is the CS59 with 955,350 battles played in it, with a 50.76% win ratio. This tank is known for its high DPM of tier 9. It's pretty high, it's 2,660 DPM, but it doesn't really have the armor to boot. It can survive some hits, it can ricochet some hits, but I would not recommend going hull down in this tank or trying to get hit or baiting shots with this tank. It can ricochet some shots, but I wouldn't recommend it. Just staying at a distance, using that great DPM, or just being the support tank. It also has really good penetration, 252 on standard, 293 on its premium. So yeah. And 9 degrees of gun depression, and view range is 390, and it's decently mobile. Now we move on to the number 7 spot, which is one of my personal favorite tier 9s, which is the AMX M4 Emily 51. It has been in 910,828 battles with a 50.95% win ratio. Now this tank is very unique. It also has, it's almost classified as a super heavy tank. Like the tier 10 is classified as a super heavy tank, I would definitely classify this as a super heavy. It's faster as super heavy, but it has armor just like the super heavy. Now let's talk about a little bit about the armor right quick. It has 300 millimeters of armor, turret armor, and 180 millimeters of frontal hull armor. And its lower plate is pretty much non-existent. And if you actually do manage to hit the super small lower plate on this tank, it's 120 millimeters thick, but is very, very angled back. So good luck pinning that spot. And you have 1,900 hit points. Also, what also makes this tank great is it gets 2 guns. It only gets 2 guns. You get the stock gun, you get the fully upgraded gun, and that stock gun is really, really great, amazing. It has a 120 as its stock gun, and it has high penetration, high damage, high accuracy. But it also has the fully upgraded gun of the 127mm, which I don't know which one I like better, but I do like running the 127. You lose some penetration, but you gain alpha instead of the 400 that the 120 gets. You get 470, and I believe, yeah, you also lose a tad bit of DPM. So 470, or you can go the 470, which is the more unique gun, or you can do high DPM, high damage, high penetration, not high damage, high penetration, high DPM, great aim time. So this tank's just really great because it has the gun options, it's mobility, and the armor is really amazing. Now we moved on to the most played tank of this list, which is the T95 at 2,761,862 battles played, with a 51.27% win ratio, and that is obviously the T95. Now the T95, if you don't know, is called the Doom Turtle. It is a very slow tank. It used to be way slower than it is now. I believe it used to go like 14 or 15. Now it goes 20. But it is extremely heavily armored at the front. It has 305 millimeters of armor at the front. Yeah, pretty much everywhere. Except its cupolas, 152, and its lower plate with 133 with really great angles to it. So yeah, this tank is heavily armored at the front, but it's slow, and it's a non-turret tank, but that does not take away from this tank. This tank is still great. It's amazing. It can just sit out in the open and just block shots. It also gets 2 good guns, a 120mm, which you can sacrifice. You can go for the DPM, or you can play the 155 like this tank should be played. Have a long reload, but smack somebody for 750 damage. With really good penetration, honestly, at 276 on its standard, 320 on its premium. One of the highest penetrations at tier 9. I said one of the highest. We're still getting to, I think, is the highest penetration at tier 9. Still later on the list. Now we move on to the number 5 spot, which is the IS-32, which is the newest tank on this list, very newest, which is the least played tank of the 120,869 battles, and it also has a 51.47% win ratio. This tank is a double barrel tank. It gets a 122mm gun. Its armor is pretty great. 280 at the front of its turret, 145 on its pike nose, and it's quite mobility. But it also has that great gun. It also has a surprisingly of 8 degrees of gun depression. DPM is a little less than 2,000, but when you get to smack somebody for 780, that kind of makes up for it. Especially when you get that double shot in. And double shotting is just very, very fun. So yeah. Next, we move on to the number 4 spot, which is the AMX Splash. The AMX Splash has been in 961,341 battles with a 51.54% win ratio. Now, I actually grinded through this tank before it got an autoloader. This entire line did not have an autoloader, except the tier 2, for some strange reason, and the tier 10. So now this tank only gets 1 gun, a 120mm gun, but it also has a 4-shot autoloader, which is the same gun on the tier 10 Flash, but brought down at tier 9 with only 4 shots instead of 6 shots. But its penetration at 257 on its standard, 325 on its premium. Mobility is decent, but what also makes this tank really good is also it has decent concealment, surprisingly. And what also makes this tank really good is that amazing armor at tier 10 is on the tier 9 at 180 millimeters thick and it's pretty angled. So when you're fighting tier 7s, good luck tier 7s, you're not pinning me. Tier 8's pretty much the same thing. Tier 9s, okay. Tier 10s, low premium. But still, you may bounce. That's why it's a mid-range fighter. But when it gets in its mid-range fighting, it's great. It's amazing. The armor's great. The gun's fun. But yeah, Foch. Foch does what Foch wants to do. And the number 3 spot is the hard case. One of the tier 9, one of the 2 tier 9 mercenary tier 9 tanks. Yeah, that was a mouthful. Anyway, it has been in 386,803 battles with a 51.65% win ratio. This tank, I was told to get this tank. And I would love this tank. I hate this tank. So, anyway, this tank is armored very, very much. But it's pretty much just space armor. It's space armor all the way around. It's up the front. The armor is really good all the way around the tank. It's up the front, which is very weird. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, with all that space armor, it has a terrible horsepower per ton at 11.97 with a forward speed of 38. What's also impressive about this thing is it gets 400 meters of view range, which is very interesting because the other tanks on this list that you think would get more view range, get 400, does not. It also has terrible penetration at 219, but its premium penetration is 330, which is amazing, but then you realize it's DPM is 2064. What else? You also have 7 degrees of gun depression, surprisingly. And yeah, hard case is a weird one. Very weird tank. Next, we move on to the number 2 spot. This is the WZ-111 GFT, the Tier 9 Chinese tank destroyer, with 600,218 battles played in it with a 51.85% win ratio. Now, this tank, most people say is better than the Tier 10. I disagree, because the Tier 10 is really, really good. Anyway, this tank gets 2 different guns, a 130 and a 152. Now, the 152 has 750 damage per shot. Also, this tank has probably the best Tier 9 penetration by a long shot. It has 290 standard penetration, 395 on its premium. So yeah, pretty much anything you need. Yeah, no. I'm just gonna load premium. You are deleted. Tier 7s? What? There was Tier 7s in this match? Oh, I killed them all. Anyway, yeah, this thing also has 200 millimeters of frontal superstructure, upper superstructure thickness. Yeah. And it is a non-turret tank. It also quite decent mobility at 38 forward, 16 reverse, and it still also has the 90 millimeters of penetration of high explosive doing 1,100. Advanced loader against lightly armored tanks, yeah, could buy 1,100 hit points. So before I get to the number 1 spot, I want to, hey guys, if you like this video so far, you should consider subscribing because it helps out the channel and it shows me that you really like these videos and you want more. Anyway, now we move on to the number 1 spot. The number 1 spot may be very controversial about what the tank actually is. This tank has been in 488,627 battles with a win ratio of 51.95%. The tank I am obviously talking about, because you probably see it on the screen, is the Sharpshooter. Now, the Sharpshooter is, you remember how I said about the hard case where people are like, hey, get this tank, you'll love this tank. I get the tank, I hate the tank. Well, I got the hard case. Well, before I got the hard case, people were like, don't get the hard case, you'll hate that tank. Got the hard case, love the hard case. Not the hard case. Don't get the Sharpshooter, you'll hate the Sharpshooter. I got the Sharpshooter, love the Sharpshooter. I don't know how that works, but it works. So the best way I can say about this thing is, if you ever wanted a Chieftain Mark 6 at tier 9, this is a Chieftain Mark 6 at tier 9, minus the great DPM. Yeah. So it goes 48 forward, 390 meters of view range. It also has penetration 220 on its standard, which is low, 270 on its premium. It's not terrible heat. I don't believe it's heat. Yeah, it's not heat because it goes 1500 meters per second. So that is not heat. 1200 meters on standard, so this can snipe, and it also has 10 degrees of gun impression. Accuracy is 0.3. The gun is amazing on this tank, minus the DPM and penetration on standard. I love the sharpshooter. Absolutely love the sharpshooter. Anyway, that's it for this video. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, Slapafish, because why would you not? It'd be so. See ya.